Vikings are going to Viking. My name is Patrick Siepman. Welcome to Vikings Now by Chat Sports. As the Vikings lose in the most Vikings way possible, 27-24 on a Saturday to the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm kind of in shambles right now. I must say that was one of the most Vikings losses of all time. Just absolutely brutal loss. Like, they were up 17-3 heading into the fourth quarter. You end up giving up 27 points to frickin' Jake Browning and this Bengals offense. Just terrible, terrible, and even more terrible. Let's break down the box score real quick. Nick Mullens was 26 of 33, 303 yards. Listen, the stats look good for Mullens. No doubt about it. Like, going 26 of 33, is able to move the ball pretty well. You put up 24 points, which we'll take, but it was the two turnovers. He had two brutal turnovers that were both in Bengals territory and were both, honestly, should have resulted in 7 points. Ty Chandler, he was great. 23 carries, 132 yards. I'm not going to spend too much time on Chandler just because I've been saying this for the longest time that he should be RB1 instead of Alexander Mattison. This is the best running back performance we've seen in a very, very long time for the Minnesota Vikings. And then Jordan Addison, he had a great game. He had that unreal catch. It was thrown at his toes. He picked it up, and he ran it to the house. He had 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. But at the end of the day, you let Jake Browning go for 324, 2 tuds, and a pick. And it was just very it's ugly football from the Vikes defense. And it was actually, we were live for the game on the channel. And when the Vikings were up 17-3, I was saying, like, this looks like a top 10 defense in the league. This looks like a top 5 defense in the league. Obviously, that ended up not being the case, and it's just a tough loss. It's just a very, very, very just tough loss. But I want to give you guys his thoughts, and I know this may be not a dumb question, I shouldn't say that, but how do you guys think the Vikings played? And I want you to grade it, because obviously, like, that feeling I had after a loss, like, I would give them an F. But if you just kind of, accumulate the whole game and think about really how they played, I'm probably sitting at more of a C, C-. But I want you guys to grade the Vikings. Grade the Vikings' performance versus Cincinnati. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F down in the comments section. Let me know. I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say, because if I'm take the whole game as a whole, I'd probably go about a C, C-. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments section. But let's kick it off with the quarterback, Nick Mullens. Let's break his game down here. He was 26 of 33, 303 yards, 2 tuds, and 2 interceptions. I didn't think he played bad. I thought overall, consistently, he was pretty solid. But again, he would just have a couple plays here and there that were just brutal. Like the fumble or interception at the end of the half when he didn't want to take a sack, so he was kind of on his back foot and he just kind of threw it up, ended up in an interception. That was just a bonehead play by Mullens. And I think he's a way better option than Dobbs, but if I'm the Vikings for the rest of the year, why not go to Jaren Hall? It's kind of the main point I want to make is, I think Nick Mullens, right now, maybe he'll be a little better than Hall. Like, first game, 100%. Because Hall's a rookie. He hasn't played too much. But why not find out what you have in Jaren Hall? Because in that one drive against the Falcons, he went right up and down the field, almost scored a touchdown. So I fully expect Jaren Hall to be the starter next week against the Detroit Lions on Christmas Eve. Go Broncos tonight. Hopefully that game on Christmas Eve means a little more. But Vikings do fall to 7-7. Nick Mullens, here are his stats from the day. They ran this trick play to Justin Jefferson, where it was like a little orbit motion behind him. They threw it out to Jefferson, and he had wide open KJ Osborne, but he had pressure in his face, so he just couldn't get the ball off on time. I actually loved the play call by Kevin O'Connell, but overall I thought KOC, especially down the stretch of that game, was just bad. He just got too conservative. The amount of times that the Vikings are up in the fourth quarter, 24 or whatever it may be, they could be up a touchdown, 2 touchdowns. They just consistently fall into the same habit of just going run, pass. And I get it. Ty Chandler was cooking today. And I'll make this point. before we dive into the rest is I was right about Ty Chandler. I've been saying this since last year. He's a very, very good running back. And he had his day today, 23 carries, 132 yards, had that long run of 30, found the end zone once, should have found it twice, frankly, but man, it's just a tough loss. It's just a tough loss. And we'll dive into more around Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores here in a second, but I do want to first give a huge shout out to Prize Picks. Prize Picks is today's official sponsor of our post-game reaction as the Vikings did lose to the Bengals 27-24. But if you guys go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match all the way up to $100. And maybe ask yourself, well, Patrick, what is necessarily Prize Picks? Well, Prize Picks is daily fantasy, and it's made easy. All you got to do, you pick 2 or more players. You're going to choose more or less on some projected stat types, and you guys can start seeing the cash rolling today. My favorite part of Prize Picks, obviously there's a lot of boring primetime games in the NFL this season with all these starting quarterbacks out. Whenever I play Prize Picks, it makes it a whole lot more entertaining. So I want to give a huge shout out to Prize Picks. They're today's sponsor of today's edition of Vikings Now. If you guys go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS, you'll get a first deposit match up to $100. Link for that in the comments and description of today's show. But let's talk about this. A point I want to make real quick. So on the stream, I was calling for Kevin O'Connell in the last drive in overtime to go back-to-back tush pushes because you had a yard to get, and I just thought, you know what? Screw it. Just go back-to-back tush pushes. You should get it. But a part of me is so frustrated that 18 doesn't see the football. And I understand you got your 4th quarterback starting of the year, so you're not going to put the game fully in his hands, but it's just very disappointing when it's like, this guy, he doesn't have a chance to kind of make his mark on a game because he was making some unreal catches today. And, he still put up 84 yards, and Mullins was throwing him just awful footballs throughout the game. And Jefferson just made up for it. And speaking back to Mullins, I understand. These stats look solid. 26 of 33, 300 yards, 3 tuds. A lot of that was because of Addison, Hockenson, and Jefferson really getting it going. Addison was fantastic. 6 receptions, 111 yards, 2 tuds, a long of 37 on that sweet catch where he caught it on his toes and then he broke it off deep. He was great. He was great. And I just do think it's time to go to Jaren Hall. He's also Hawk. Hawk had a ton of big-time first downs. Hockenson was great. Really, I was wrong about him. He was really bad at the beginning of the year, but he's been really fantastic as of lately. So Hockenson played very, very well. But do you want to close today just talking about the defense? Sorry, that's a Broncos logo. You guys obviously know that means Bengals. But Jake Browning, 29 of 42, 324 yards and 2 tuds. It's just not how is that possibly happening? But it's just Brian Flores. I just felt like you got too conservative in that second half. I felt you kind of left him off the hook a little bit where you just kind of, rested on your laurels and just kind of said, my defense will figure it out. I don't know. I just thought it was an overall bad coaching job by the Vikings on both sides of the ball. But that's today's post-game show. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.